Hello folks, I'm Chris and appreciate you joining me on this video. Today we're going to attempt a restoration on a cast iron pot that has been sitting in my mother-in-law's garage for quite a few years, long enough to build up quite a bit of surface rust and cobwebs to go along with it. We're going to try to get this thing back down to raw cast iron and then season it up properly and bake it in. And the process that I'm going to use is basically just going to be, we're going to burn it in, which is going to consist of starting a campfire. We're going to let it burn down to coals, and then I'm just going to throw this thing on top, keep flipping it around, try to flake some of the rust off of it, and then we're going to hit it with a wire brush really good after that, after it cools down. And hopefully that'll get it back down to raw cast iron, and then we can just oil it up properly and hopefully be able to bake it in and then be able to use this thing. So for now we're going to take it out to the fire pit. See you there. Alright, so out here at the fire, now we're just simply going to let it build sufficiently and get a coal bed.
She's a growing.
Alright, so we got good coals. Now we're just going to simply plop it in. I'm going to go upside down first. I guess we're going to have to make room for the lid. And we'll just let it cook for however long it needs to. Keep tending to the fire. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes, and I'm gonna go ahead and flip it. You can see we're charring off. You can see that rust flaking really good. Oh yeah, that rust is flaking out really well. Okay, we're going to leave that go for another 15-20 minutes. Check back in. Okay, so I gotta zoom in here because I want to show you how well that this rust is flaking off. I hope this shows up good, but this is literally just me scraping it with my knife. And that rust is coming right off of there with no effort whatsoever. So what I'm thinking is, it's probably not even going to be necessary to even use a wire brush at this point. Hopefully we'll just be able to wipe it down properly and get that rust off of there. But this is definitely a good method to use to remove rust. Less elbow grease. It's basically just chipping everything up. It'll be able to be wiped right off. So that's good. Okay, so about 15-20 minutes after the first flip, here we still got the lid. I just simply built basically a fire on top of it. I'm going to let the coals burn down on it. I'm going to try to get this thing flipped so we can get the inside a little better. Like so. Okay, so we'll let that keep burning in. Backside's looking good. Maybe a little bit of rust we'll have to sand out, nothing major. Okay, so it's been about an hour. Everything's burnt down to coals. This thing, let's see what we got. It looks really good. I don't know if you can really tell from the camera, but it's essentially turned back to raw cast iron. That good silver gray look, which is what I want. I'm not even really going to hit it with a wire brush. I'm just going to maybe use a little bit of steel wool, get the remaining surface rust off of it. But if you can see right here, that stuff's just literally flaking right off. Okay, so let's take it out, let everything cool. So let that cool down for a few minutes, and we'll come back. Okay, so we've let it cool down for 20-25 minutes, and for right now, well, I guess before we get into that, we'll show you what it did. Like I said before, all that stuff's just been, the rust has just been burnt off, and now it's basically just flaking off. Same with the lid. See where all the flakes are here. So what I have is Quad Zero steel wool, and I'm simply just going to wipe it down. Actually, first what I'm going to do is hit it with a rag and try to wipe it down, and then we'll try to get it down to the remaining surface rust, and then we'll eliminate that with the steel wool. So for now we're going to wipe it down with a rag. Alright, so just going to simply wipe out the ash now. Look at that. That immediately came. That immediately got a lot of rust out of there. Looks much better already. Clean the rest of the ash off. You see where we got the, where it's back to raw cast iron now, that gray. Got it to the point where we can see the markings. I guess that's a classic brand Dutch oven. So that's before soap and water. As you can see, that turned out really well. just from burning it in. Now we got that one, so let's try to hit it with some sand or the steel wool. See if that's really going to get it down to where we need it. Okay, so we got it all wiped down with the rag. And I originally thought I was going to get away with just being able to wipe it down and hit it with a steel wool pad. But there's still a lot of surface rust, so I'm going to try to attempt to go with a wire brush over the whole thing and try to get it back to raw material. So let's try that now. I can already tell you it's eating that rust pretty good, and oh, that's showing up good. That's exactly what you want. We want all of this nice silver gray material, obviously not that red. So we're going to do the whole entire surface. That's going to take some time, so we'll get to it. Okay, so about after 10 minutes or so of the wire brush, we got it back to raw material. So for comparison, that's what we just wire brushed, and that's the rusted part. So we're gonna have to get that to that.
Go reverse. Oh my god, babe.
Was that on?
Yeah. Didn't think. Look at your fucking leg, babe. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Alright, so about after an hour or so of using the wire brush, we got it back down to raw material. Looks pretty good, considering what it looked like beforehand. So now all we got to do is get it inside, get it wiped down really good, and clean it up with some good soap and water, and then we'll be ready to season it. Alright, so we're inside. We got it down to raw material. So now what we're going to do is thoroughly wash it with soap and just maybe some lukewarm water. Get the dust and the shavings off, or the rust particles off from the grinder. Okay, so we thoroughly scrubbed and rinsed the soap. Now we really want to get this thing well dried. We don't want to leave any moisture on it. So when we oil it up, oil takes properly. So you're going to want to take extra care to thoroughly dry. See how well that brought back the markings. That thing's basically back down to natural raw iron compared to what that thing used to look like just a few hours prior. Okay, so we thoroughly washed and rinsed with soap and water here, and I'm just going to let this thing air dry for a few minutes before we oil it up. But for comparison's sake, I want to show you what the difference is between raw cast iron, obviously, which we just did here on the left, and a seasoned skillet. We bought that pre-seasoned, and the main goal is to make this look like that, obviously. But that's the difference of what you have, and I don't know if that'll show up very good. But here you want that gray silver color, you know, that raw material, and over here obviously the black season. So we're not going to get that good season look right off, you know, right from the jump. It's going to be a couple of months for that process, and I'm going to keep track of that to see how this thing turns out. So in just a couple of minutes, we're going to let that air dry a little bit more, and then we'll be ready to put some oil on it and bake it in. Okay, so now that we've allowed the pot to dry for some time, we're just going to get a good thorough coat of oil on there. Now while I'm doing this, I have my pan, or excuse me, I have the oven preheating to 325 degrees while we're oiling the pot. And we want to get a considerable layer of oil in here, so I'm going to be liberal. I'm basically just going to wipe it in, cover every inch of the surface. The back side. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the lid. And we're just gonna cover the entire surface as well. Okay, so as I said earlier, the oven's been preheating for a few minutes now, so we're gonna be ready to take it over there. Okay, so we're here at the oven, and we've had that preheating, so I'm gonna set everything upside down, and all I've done is put a aluminum foil drip sheet there. It's gonna catch any oil drippings. I'm also gonna put this upside down. A little oil spot that I missed there. Okay, so we're going to set a timer and we're going to let that go for about an hour. Okay, so it's been over an hour now, plus some change to allow the iron to cool down. We're going to take them out and let them air cool. See how much they've changed. And you're going to notice that it's going to get much darker than from when you first put it in, which is good. So it's definitely gotten much darker, and as I said before, it's going to take some time to get a good seasoning coat on these. This is a skillet that is a month into the seasoning process, and as you can tell the difference, you know, the handle is still raw and the cooking surface is just starting to get well seasoned. And you can also check out the seasoning process for this skillet. I'll try to link that below if you're interested in that. So that's pretty much it. So after about a month or so of using that, this is what it should look like. We should get a good seasoning surface in there. The more you use it, it's going to be a good chili pot, stew pot, and I'm sure we'll figure out some good uses for it. Thank you for joining me this time, and maybe next time we'll actually be able to do a dish in that, maybe some chili or a stew or something along those lines. So again, thank you for joining us. See you next time. Burn my fucking hand.